and you could be as good as this person wanted you to be so that you didn't get beat up. But the beatings never stopped, did they? Because you can't stand on your head in enough different ways.
If he was in a bad mood, I was a victim.
And so through life experience, you came to realize that is not an option. Let's carry that to a further understanding. Let's say you're getting beat up, and so then you get bigger, and then you start beating people up, and then you beat him up, and then you get a weapon, and then you get a tank, and then you get an army. In terms of what it takes in terms of physical prowess to keep riding that wave of getting beat up, you just can't get to where you want to be from there. And so through life experience, after a little while, you attract someone like us. There are a lot of people talking about vibrations these days who begins to tell you that there is a power, there's an energy that creates worlds, that if you do the work vibrationally, you won't be in the position where you have to do the less powerful work of taking action. And this is the reason that this conversation is so important to have, is because you live in a world that is so dependent upon action. People factioning off, joining groups, trying to gain more power, and just beating each other up all day, every day, and no one feeling very good in the process of that. Surely, like the little kid who got beat up until you grew up, as a mass consciousness in this physical world, can't you feel yourself coming to an awareness that there's got to be some better way than just having the loudest voice saying the most negative thing focused against the other? Isn't it occurring to you in very real experiential terms that there is another way of going about living happily ever after other than trying to push against what you do not want?
I would think it's my belief system, and I'm
This is why, as we've come into your experience, we're approaching it from the only way that you can really hear it. We say to you, we're not talking about somebody beating you up. We say you create your own reality, and you question that because it didn't.
Yeah, but like why would I step into that?
And then we say, because you're offering a vibration that law of attraction is responding to. And then we say, and you can control that vibration. You were never able to control that mean man. You could not control that mean man. So if you had to depend on action, or maybe a mother who would defend you, or maybe a system of government that would say, this mean man cannot do these mean things to you.
My mother wouldn't defend me.
But what we're getting at is, when you're reliant upon the action in order to make it better, there's never enough action to compensate for that. And so in the meantime, something really wonderful happened to you. You were, without even knowing you were doing it, you were building a vortex. You were building a vibrational reality. You were becoming stronger with your inner being. You were becoming clearer with your inner being. You were becoming smarter. You were becoming more aware that you create your own reality. You were putting things into your vortex that all these years later, when nobody's beating you up, you could become a vibrational match to if you would let yourself just go there a little bit.
I want that
You
big bounce.
cannot keep fighting the battles of what happened. One of the things about your inner being that is really worth knowing is that your inner being never looks back. Your inner being never regurgitates one of those beatings. Your inner being never looks back at that. And so when you do, right away, you affect a separation between yourself and your inner being. This is the best conversation we've ever had in order to help you to understand that action has never been the way to make things happen, and yet most people are relying almost completely upon the action part of it. Well, it's time for you to stop worrying about the action part of it. It's time for you to get hold of the leverage that creates worlds and utilize it to your advantage. It's time for you to offer a vibration that never brings belligerent people into your experience, because you start fighting against belligerent people, you'll start attracting belligerent people, because there is no law of exclusion. When you see something that you want and you say yes to it, you invite it into your experience. When you see a bully or something that you don't want and you shout no at it, you invite it into your experience. So there's a war against drugs, and a war against murder, and a war against crime, and a war against all of those things, and all of them getting bigger because attention to them makes them bigger, you see. So then you all have to decide. And by telling your story of when you were little, it makes it harder for you or anyone to hear, because it's hard to imagine being a little kid and experiencing the wrath of some disconnected person and knowing what to do about it. We know that. But you survived it like your inner being knew you would. You put all kinds of things in your vortex like your inner being knew you would. You are so much more than you could ever been without that experience. There is now something for you to come into vibrational alignment with. In other words, you're really going to like these lions when you get them. You're really, really going to like these lions when you get them, because you've spent so much time creating all of this. And when you come into vibrational alignment with that, are there mean people in the world? Yes, there are. Are there belligerent people in the world? Yes, there are. Are there bullies in the world? Yes, there are. Would you like to protect all of the victims from these bullies? Yes, of course you would, but you can't protect anyone from a bully that you've got your sights on. Because when you focus upon the bully, you disconnect from your power. You disconnect from any clarity. You disconnect from any timing. You disconnect from any resources that would assist you, you see.
And when the bully sees you being able to do that, they try harder to get your attention again.
Well, that's because when you think about a bully or anyone who is living and working in an action-oriented world, that's all they know. Bigger and louder and meaner is winning. But your inner being knows that alignment and love and source is winning. Your inner being knows that the energy that creates worlds. You know why? Those are the things that win, because when you croak, and you will, you won't take any of that with you. You won't take any of your bullying talent with you. You won't take any of your meanness with you. When you reemerge back into non-physical, you leave behind all of that. And you become part of that energy stream that continues to create worlds, you see. You see, much more than the beating, it was the awful way you felt. And the awful way you felt was because you were convinced that you weren't worthy when your inner being knows that you are. If your inner being wasn't so in love with you and knowing your worthiness, then those moments of not knowing it wouldn't have hurt you so much. If your inner being had agreed with your stepdad and had said, yeah, beat him up, he needs it, then there would have been no separation between you, and you wouldn't have felt terrible. The tears are still falling down your face because your inner being adores you so much, and when you don't, you affect that crevasse. And that mean man is not around anymore doing that to you. And so your question is really a valid and important question. You say, why am I doing this to myself? Why would I be born into this? And why can't I let go of those beliefs? And we say, because you're still like so many people, believing in the action instead of the energy. You're believing in the word instead of the alignment. You're believing in the word instead of the emotion. You can accomplish the emotion of love, but not while you remember that bad man. You find love often, but not when you're remembering getting beat up. So you've got to use your discipline to guide your thoughts toward what allow you love, instead of continuing to blame him for what you're doing to yourself now. He beat you up. Yes, he did. And no one thinks that was a good idea. But why would you have chosen something like that? Why would you choose that? Because you knew that in having that experience, that you would put into your vortex a legacy, a life experience, that once you came into vibrational sync with it, you would feel the wholeness of who you are. You knew that independence was the only way that you would ever know your true value. And we promise you, you are so much more because of that mean man than you would have been if someone had just coddled you and taken care of you and given you everything. Because in that experience that you want to call wrong or unwanted, or why would I choose it, you've created a vortex that when you come into alignment with it is going to give you such rapturous feelings of alignment and well-being that they are indescribable in terms of any words. And we know you've experienced those on many occasions. We know that you know what we're talking about. So when you're running around in this world and you see people being mistreated and you want to jump in and stop the mistreatment, we don't blame you. We think it's a good idea. We don't want anybody to beat up on anybody either. But there is far more detriment happening to far more people because of words that are spoken and thoughts that are being projected. There are not that many people being beat up physically in relationship with the numbers of you who are beating yourselves up by not going with the flow of who you really are. And that's really what the bottom line is. That's really what you have to understand. Nobody's doing anything to you, and that's the most important conversation that we could ever have with you, because there was a time when it really looked like somebody was doing something to you. It really looked like they had the upper hand. And so it's really easy to go through life still saying, well, they've got the upper hand. They've got the upper hand. If it's not this mean man beating me up, then it's the government not taking more of my money than they should. Or it's my employer who won't pay me what I'm worth. Or it's the person I live with, and on and on and on and on and on. There's always some reason that things aren't better for me, because you have the habit, a lot of people do, of putting it outside of yourself. But when you accept, oh, wait a minute. I can choose to remember that and get myself all bound out as if I was 10 years old again. Or I can choose a thought about something else and feel different. Let's see, I get to choose. So that's really the question that this day is bringing forth in a more powerful way than ever before. How can I stop facing a reality that is so in my face? How can I not use my eyes and ears and nose and fingertips and tongue? How can I not translate the physical reality when it's so in my face? And we say, you have to make the emotional reality more important to you for now. You have to care more about how you feel than anything else. Because we promise you, that man was mean, but you kill yourself when you don't love him. When you allow yourself to continue hatred towards somebody that maybe deserves it as much as anybody that we've ever talked about, you can't hate him without hurting yourself, because your inner being won't hate him.
I don't really feel hate towards him. If I have any anger, it's really towards my mom.
Doesn't matter. Your inner being will not have hatred towards or anger towards your mom, because your inner being understands that she was where she was. In other words, she was doing the best that she could do then too, you see. But, oh, really? To carry something so long ago forward into the now? In other words, this conversation is more about appealing to your logic. The other day, Esther was feeling a little jealousy at her beautiful granddaughter, who is so in love with life and has so many years ahead of her. And Esther was looking at her thinking, oh, I wish that I knew everything I know now, and I could just be back in your body right now, knowing what I know and having all of that out there ahead of me. And for just a little bit, Esther had how many years left in this physical body shortage consciousness? For just a little bit. And we said to her, once she went to sleep and woke up and meditated and got feeling happy again, we said to her, you know, Esther, you and Kate are exactly even in terms of your relationship with now, because all Kate has is now and all you have is now. And in the now, all you have is your relationship with your inner being or not. In other words, Kate has the potential of being miserable in her now. You have the potential of being miserable in your now. You have the potential of being joyful in your now. Kate has the potential of being joyful in her now. That's all there is. It's your relationship with your inner being. It's your vibrational relationship with who you are. That's all you have right here and now, you see. And so as you start thinking thoughts like that, you have the ability to come into such harmony with who you are right now. And who you are right now is so much more than you would ever be if it had not been for that relationship with that man. And that's why you chose it. You chose that for then because you knew you were choosing this for now. Talk about poop to value. You know who you are. You knew that words don't teach, that only life experience teaches. And sometimes you have to be without alignment pretty hard for pretty long before you start asking for and demanding for yourself alignment. And once you reach that place where nothing else will do, where everything else is irrelevant, where actions don't matter anymore, where nothing matters anymore, where the only thing that matters is your relationship with who you are. Once you are there, then you're home free. Because once you care about that, then you can accomplish it, and then you just start living happily ever after. Now. Really good time for a segment of refreshment.